I think I'm live now. Sorry, I just finished eating some lunch. Let's see what we got here. Are we going live? We are live. Okay, so who's all here today? Hang on there. I'm getting feedback. So if this is your first time on a Q&A call, what you have to do is you have to click the little YouTube button down in the corner. That's going to launch YouTube. Okay, and when you launch YouTube, you're going to see a pop out. I'm going to actually do it right now. You're going to see a chat box. Okay, and the chat box, you can either leave this open in YouTube, and I see several people on here. Hey guys. Or you can pop it out. So in the top right of the chat box, there's 3 dots, and you can click on that and click pop out. And that'll just make its own little pop-out window, and you can go back to the community if you want to go back to the community. And the reason to go back to the community is if you want to leave comments on the community thread, which I always recommend that. But for the chat feature, we have to have this little chat box. So it's kind of a weird little workaround we're working with right now, but it is what it is for now. So let's see if you're on this YouTube live. Say, hey, what's up? So I know you're here, and I want to see who's all here today. So I've got a lot of students who actually just finished Stylecraft last week. So congratulations to that first round. I've got several students who are halfway through, and I see a few of them. Hey, Ellen, I know you're halfway through Milky Stuff. Philip, what's going on? And I've got a bunch of new people in here. Hey, Ryan. Ryan just finished StarCraft, if he's caught up. I think he is. Hey, Ryan. And some new students. John, Jags, Nee. What's up, Jags? Phil C. Hey, Phil. Tom G. Hey, Tom. Devin. Sorry. I almost called you Devon. Devin Quick. Yo, Devin. So what this is this is a... This is a Q&A that I like to do every couple weeks. And this is just a chance. I'm not going to critique work. Now, every once in a while, I will critique work on a Q&A if there's no questions or not very many people here. But this is just your opportunity to send me a question, ask me, tell me what's going on. Ask me a question. It can be about an exercise you're working on. It can be about motion design in general. Or whatever. So this is just an open forum for Q&A. So what we've had happen in the past is when you start asking questions, other members, if you know the answer, feel free to jump in and give an answer. I'm a pro at this, but that doesn't mean I always have the right or the best answer. There's always, I believe there's always multiple answers, correct answers to a question. So depending on how you approach it. So before I jump in, so you guys can go ahead and just start sending some questions in if you have them. While you're doing that, I'm actually going to, I want to address some things with the new group that just came in. So we talked about the chat box. Like I said, if you're just jumping on, you have to click the YouTube logo in the bottom corner. That's going to launch YouTube. You'll see a chat box. That's your opportunity to type and chat away. So you have to do that. Also, some people have asked me how to set a reminder about the Q&As and the critique sessions. It's really easy. All you have to do is when you go to the YouTube, let me actually switch this real quick here. You're going to see a bunch of feedback here. But when you go into the feed here, and let's say you go into the Q&As, and when you load this up, because I'm live right now, it's going to show me live. But normally, if you click play here, a little button's going to pop up, and it's going to say, hey, do you want to set a reminder? That's your place to click to have YouTube remind you of the calls that are coming up, so that you don't have to constantly be like, okay, well, what time is it at? I get a lot of people asking me what time it is. On the announcement I sent out today, I actually put a time zone converter for the first time. I'm curious if that worked. for you guys. These calls are based on 12 noon Central Standard Time, which is U.S. time. But we actually have a ton of people that just came in from the UK, Korea, Russia, Germany. So we've got a lot of different time zones. So it's good to set a reminder down here so you know what's going on with these calls. Let's switch back here. Let me talk about something else here. So something else I'm getting a lot of with the new group especially is something with motion design, something that's going on with your project. Post it in the community. You're going to get a quicker response versus emailing me directly. That's not to say you can't email me directly. I've gotten a couple emails in the last couple days from some people that I was happy to answer. But the email feedback to you guys is going to probably slow down just because my schedule gets so busy. It's a lot better to have you guys in the community, and I check the community all the time, several times a day. So I want you to start putting your questions in the community. If you're confused about something, if you have a question about an exercise, about a call, whatever, put it in the community versus emailing me directly. What else? Work in progress versus finished exercises. So there's two topics in the community. There's a work in progress section and there's a finished section. The work in progress is where you're going to put stuff that you're working on. So like Jags, I know you're working on a lyric video, I think it is, for a client or a buddy. And you posted it for, I put this in the community and you responded to it. But just as an example, so Jags is working on something, he wanted feedback, and he's like, I'll post the next iteration as soon as I apply the feedback. That's kind of the stuff that goes in work in progress. Finished is just for finished pieces that you want to show off to the group. And those can be client pieces, those can be finished exercises, that kind of stuff. If you're looking for feedback to continue refining something, put that in work in progress. If it's done, put it in finished. Something else we're doing new is buddy pairing for the new group that just came in. So the new people have come in, you saw an assessment. A lot of you have taken the assessment, which is just several questions about you. It's to help us pair you up together. So we're doing small groups, like 5 or 6 people in a group. It's feedback I've gotten from the past rounds of students that I've gone through that have asked for more accountability, and that's what this is. So you're going to be paired up very soon, probably the end of this week or beginning of next week, with some other motion designers in the course. But I need you guys to finish your questionnaires in order for me to do that. So if you have not done the buddy assessment, please do that as quick as possible in the next day or two so that I can get everyone paired up. If you don't get the assessment done, there's a chance I won't be able to pair you up with anybody. So it's okay if you don't want to be paired up with somebody. You can just mark that as no. That's totally fine. When you do get paired up with people, just to address it really quickly, what we're going to do is you're going to have a Zoom room. And if you don't know what Zoom is, it's a free application where you can do video calls or audio calls, and you can just kind of come into these groups and you can see everybody. It's a free service. I'm going to send you a link. So what it'll be is like you'll have your little group. I'll introduce you to everybody. You'll go to the Zoom room based upon when you guys can all meet, and you guys can just hang out there. You can talk, exchange email, contact information if you want to do that, and keep each other accountable and help each other with assignments. So it's your opportunity to really connect with your small group and go through StyleCraft together and grow together. And what I did was when we paired up, we've got some of the groups paired up so far. It's going to consist of someone who's a veteran, who's got many years of experience. There's going to be 1 or 2 of those in your group. There's going to be 1 or 2 individuals who are mid-level, and there's going to be 1 or 2 individuals who are just starting out in motion design. So every group is going to be comprised of those same sets of people. So it'll be a good mix of people in your group. And I think it'll be really good for everybody going through StyleCraft. So that's a brand new feature, and I do ask you to please fill out the questionnaire if you haven't done it yet, so we can get you guys paired up as quickly as possible. I've also got a lot of questions from people asking about all the bonuses and the goodies for the new people coming in, and where those are, when that's going to happen. So those are going to happen around weeks 5 and 6. Basically what it is it's after the 30-day money back guarantee that I offer. When that is up, then I give out the goodies. What's happened in the past 2 sessions, unfortunately, is people have come in and they've signed up, they've asked for the goodies. Immediately they get them, and then they want their money back and they're out. And there's no way for me to pull those goodies back. So unfortunately, there's always those people that ruin it for everyone else. That's what's happened in the last 2 groups. So weeks 5 and 6, you're going to get some things sent your way, but not until then. So be prepared for that. And then there's also going to be some discounts on some different programs and things that are going to come out throughout StyleCraft. Things you're not necessarily expecting. So those will kind of come out with some different lessons. They're tied into lessons. So you'll see that stuff. But there are some really cool things coming up in weeks 5 and 6. And then what else? There's one more thing. Oh, that's right. So if you're using Vimeo, and this goes for everybody, if you're using Vimeo to show your work off in the community, there's an option in Vimeo where you can auto loop your videos, and it makes it a lot easier if your videos are auto looped and they're very short. It makes it much easier for me or other people watching the videos to really study that video and understand what's going on. It's easier to give critique and feedback if we can watch at least for me, over and over again. I can't watch a video 1 time through or 2 times or even 3 times through. I have to watch it over and over again. And there's a lot of things I see on the very first round, and you'll start picking up on that same kind of stuff as you progress through StyleCraft. You'll start seeing what to look for. But it's way easier if it's on an auto loop. So to do that inside of Vimeo, my understanding is that you can when you click on the share button, there's a little window that opens up and it says show options when you have the link. And you can click loop this video or autoplay this video or both. So just click on loop this video when you share it, and we should be good to go. That'll give you the link with a loop function, and it's really awesome. Some people have been using it in the community, some people haven't. So just wanted to mention that. So with that being said, I think that's all the basic things I wanted to talk about. The chat box, if you're new, click the pop-out chat box on YouTube. Set the reminder button for all the upcoming calls on the YouTube videos. Posting community versus emailing me, please. Buddy pairing is coming up very soon. Goodies are coming out weeks 5 and 6. Auto loop. So with that being said, I want to see if you guys have any questions based upon how your experience has been so far. Devin said, I noticed you were able to get student discounts on certain plugins. Are we able to receive something like that? Yes, weeks 5 and 6. Yep, Jag said that. Sick. Okay, curious. Phil was curious about this. So everyone's curious about the plugins and all that stuff. So sounds like you guys are pretty excited about that. I will tell you, and Jags asked what the bonuses are. Okay, so the bonuses are, there's a lot of different things throughout StyleCraft. And I don't want to tell you what they all are because I like to surprise you. Because like I said, some things are just unexpected, right? Some of them are really big bonuses. Some of them are much smaller bonuses, but they're all really cool in my opinion, which is why they're bonuses. There's going to be software bonuses. There's things like footage bonuses, discounts. So there's free software, there's discounted software. There's free footage. I got a deal with ArtGrid, and that's something I got at the very end of the first round of StyleCraft. So some of those guys got the footage. It's really cool footage. So the thing is that you can't use the footage for commercial work. But you can use it for things like your demo reel. You just can't charge a client for it. Okay, so you're going to get this really cool footage to work with for certain projects. You're going to get, I will tell you, some of them is like Red Giant. You get 50% off all the Red Giant products, which is huge. In fact, I talk about Red Giant Universe a little bit throughout Stylecraft. If you don't have Universe, it's amazing set of plugins. I think the guys at Red Giant are amazing. They're good guys, which I'm all about working with good people. So Universe is amazing. The price just went up on it to like $200 versus $100, but you get 50% off. You get 50% off everything else, like Particular. Someone asked about Particular. Yes. Trapcode just came out with a new set of plugins called, I think it's called the VFX Suite or something. I'm gonna actually get it. They keep emailing me about getting it. It's something I'm not gonna teach in Stylecraft because I've already got all those lessons planned out, and I don't want to focus on plugins that you have to buy in order to do the work in Stylecraft. But if you haven't checked out the VFX Suite with Red Giant, definitely do. It's pretty cool. They just did this really cool tutorial on Stranger Things that was badass. You also, some of you get the Sapphire free educational license for a year. That's a pretty huge one. If you were in the top 20 people to sign up, you got, or you're getting Sapphire. Sapphire, when we first started Stylecraft, one of the advantages of being in the very first group that came in last year was that everyone got Sapphire. Now it's Sapphire. Boris has kind of changed their terms with me, so now I actually have to pay for those licenses. So I pay a fee for the licenses, and then I'm able to give that to the students, which is why I limited it to 20, because it's money out of my pocket to give you a license. So they got, because they're the first round, they all got it. So a lot of the stuff that I teach in Stylecraft, you see me using Sapphire, which I talk about in the welcome video. Now, you don't have to have Sapphire. I just, I love it. I've had it since 2007, I think it is. And it's kind of grown. I've watched it grow since I've had it. It hasn't changed a whole lot, actually. But Sapphire is just, Jags asked, what's the difference between Sapphire and Trapcode? Sapphire, to me, is like icing on the cake. And to be a power motion designer, in my opinion, you have to have Sapphire, right? If you get very high level, every high level motion designer I know has Sapphire. And it is just a series of plugins that if you pay full price for it, it's like $1,600. You can get, they have sales throughout the year a couple times where you can get like half off. But it's like once or twice a year. You can get the individual modules. They have like maybe 5 or 6 modules. You can get those for like $200 or $300. I love the lighting modules. I love the distortion module, the transition, the render. I actually like all of them, but I use the lighting a lot and the distortion a lot. Sapphire versus Trapcode is, Red Giant produces amazing plugins, but to me, they're a little more general, right? So you can apply a Red Giant Trapcode plugin on a piece of work, and it's going to make it look cool, right? And that doesn't necessarily make it look super high polished. Whereas Sapphire, when you apply it and you really tweak the parameters, you can make something look very polished. Now, that's not to say you can't do that with Red Giant's or Trapcode's plugins, but you have to really fine tune them. So, like for instance, I made a neon glitch pack that I came out with on Motion Science, and I used a lot of the Universe glitch effect to do that, and that's from Red Giant. But I had to do a whole lot of tweaking to it, because to me it can get kind of cheesy, right, with some of their stuff. But the visual effects suite they just came out with, that's what really blew me away. It was that it looks like it's more of a polished plugin set. So I'll be curious to check it out. I am a huge fan of Particular. I always have. I've used Particular since the very, very beginning. Actually, when it was in beta, I was on a freelance project for Xbox, and we were given the opportunity to work with it, and it blew me away. And I still use it. I still use Particular over Stardust, which is by AE Scripts, or Superliminal. Sorry, but Particular is super powerful. And that brings up another point. You are going to get some very significant discounts to AE Scripts. They've worked out a deal with us. So it's not all of their plugins or scripts. And I'd have to look at a list. But you will see that pretty soon. So AE Scripts gives you a very significant discount. So like if you wanted to get Stardust, I think it's really cheap. It's like, $19 or something. I can't remember. But a lot of students were super excited when we got that one. So that was in the second round. So Jag says Universe is effing great. It is. How many people are part of Stylecraft? So we have 120 people in here at this time. And I've got a few people who claim they're coming in. You never know. I always let a few people come in late if they ask. So we'll see. But yeah, 120 people. But out of 120 people, you're going to get, I don't know what the statistics are, but maybe 20 people will actually show up to calls and talk. That's kind of how it works. Some people always kind of hide in the background and you never hear from them. So 120 people here. Tom says, that's great. How do we know who will get the Sapphire free license? So I have a list, and I need to go back through that list with my assistant and figure that out, but they know who gets it. If you don't get Sapphire, so you can do a couple different things. You can get the demo. You can get the demo of Sapphire, which is just going to put a red X through your work, and that gets annoying, I know. But if you really want, like a glow effect or something from Sapphire, you can get that. Now, I don't want to say too much about Sapphire. If you're thinking about buying Sapphire, please email me directly, okay? And I'll see what I can do if you end up having to buy it. But I don't think you have to buy it. So like Jags, you asked about making a nice looking glow. I linked to a Pro Flow I have. If you haven't seen my Pro Flows, those are on social media. They're on Instagram and YouTube. Every week I do 60-second videos, very quick videos about how to do certain things in motion design. And a lot of that stuff is covered in Stylecraft, but to a much deeper. We go much deeper than what you see on Pro Flows. But there's a Pro Flow that talks about how to make a beautiful glow with the built-in glow from After Effects. So it looks awesome. The reason I would use Sapphire over the built-in After Effects glow is because Sapphire is quick. It's very quick, and I know how to use it very quickly, and I know how to adjust the parameters very quickly to get exactly what I want for it to look. Same with like chromatic aberration. There's a Pro Flow on chromatic aberration, which you'll see a lot of in Stylecraft. Sapphire just saves you, time. It saves you steps to take in After Effects, which is why I use it. So, but you can do the same effects with built-in plugins inside of After Effects. You can get the demo of Sapphire. If you decide that you want to purchase it, like I said, email me directly, and I'll see what I can do for a discount. Yeah. So Phil said if there was a cheap alternative to Sapphire's Warp Chroma, I'd be very happy. So there is a Warp Chroma inside of Red Giant's Universe set of plugins, which is a subscription model that's $200 a year. I think that their chromatic aberration is a little too intense for me. And like I said, if you go into Universe's Warp Chroma and you really adjust the settings, they've added a lot of presets to it now. Maybe it's better now. You could probably adjust all those settings and save your own preset, and it'd look great. I would definitely check out the Warp Chroma effect from Sapphire or from Universe. Also check out the Pro Flow that I did about how to make your own chromatic aberration. It's just, Takes extra steps to do it, but you can do it. Jag says, do you have any tutorials or content about the wizardry of particular form or mirror? I don't know how you pronounce it. MIR with your style. Not in Stylecraft. Particular is used in Beyond the Parallax Effect. But in Stylecraft right now, no, I don't have anything. I don't think there's anything. I may be wrong. Okay, I do use particular when you get into like week 25-ish, when you do the screen graphic stuff. But that brings up another good point with plugins is you're going to see me use them, but to really be a badass motion designer, you have to have a very solid foundation with your design and with your motion, okay? Once you have that solid foundation, that base layer, that base composition, that's when you go in and you apply effects. Now, every once in a while, like when we cover things like symmetry, you're going to see me use Sapphire to create symmetry, which you can do inside of After Effects. It's got symmetry plugins. And that's a plugin that's used with it intentionally to create like some weird looking symmetry, right? With an object. But other than using particular for a very specific purpose, right? I don't believe in setting out to creating a very basic animation or design and then applying a plugin to make it look really cool, right? Or cool, with quotes on it. But you have to have a really solid base of design and a really solid base of animation, and then the icing on the cake are the plugins. And I teach that throughout Stylecraft. Now, the very first several lessons, I got a little bit excited about using plugins, and you saw that in repetition. You saw that in lines. But it starts to kind of die off a little bit, right? And then you're going to go into more really strong fundamental principles, and then we're going to start adding plugins back on top of that. So don't get too wrapped up in using plugins. And I see it all the time. I see it so much today, especially with social media, that people think they have to have a plugin to make their work look sick. And it's so not true. In fact, I'm like amazed when I post things. A lot of times people will be like, oh, did you use this plugin? Or like, no, I didn't use any plugins on that. You know, it's where I use some built-in effects at the end, but it's just having that solid base. Devin, with your packages on Motion Science, do we get a discount on your products? I know we learn a lot from StarCraft, but always nice to have the option. No, at this time, so you get AE Academy Volume 1. That's what I threw in with this one. The last round of students, they got some different things, but you guys get AE Academy Volume 1, and you're going to get AE Academy Volume 2, which we are working on producing right now. I'm hoping it's going to be out within a few weeks, and it covers a lot of good stuff like motion tracking and the graph editor and keying, and just like there's like 6 different topics, high level topics, and you build projects inside of it. And I'm really excited about AE Academy Volume 2. So you get 1 and 2 is what I threw in. You're not going to get main titles or Beyond the Parallax Effect or the Freelance Effect. So, and I'll throw in, I have an older course called Typography 101. I'll throw that in when we get into typography. In fact, I'm going to write that down right now, since you asked, Devin. Hang on. Throw in Typography 101. So I'll throw in that course. You'll like it. It's kind of like 3D camera techniques. It's in that style. Okay, what else we got here? We got... yes, Tom, the Red Cross is a pain. It makes me so angry. Whenever I do want to try out a plugin, they always have those red crosses on them, and it's like, it kills me to look at it, but makes you know if you want to use the plugin or not. So I kind of have this rule that I have to use it for at least a couple weeks with that red plugin or with that Red X before I actually will purchase the plugin. So I know it's a pain. What drives me crazy with the Red X is, speaking of Red Giant, when I have, so right now I'm on an iMac 5K. I also have a MacBook Pro that I work a lot on. And if this computer is open with After Effects and I open up my laptop, I always get that damn Red X from Red Giant saying, oh, it's already being used on another computer. I'm like, no, it's not. That their plugins, I love them, but the Red X drives me insane on their plugins. I wish they'd get rid of that if you own it. Jags, when do we start the course on the pre-production for style frames and such? So you are learning, Jags. So I know that when we jump into courses, we want instant gratification. Okay. And this is a year-long course. And right now you are learning what is required for style frames and such. Okay. What's going to happen is you're moving through these different lessons, and you're going to move through them for quite a while, for several weeks. And then you're going to move into a second phase of StyleCraft, and it's going to be client based, right? You're going to get these creative briefs from a fictional client, and you're going to start building, and all of a sudden you're going to realize, and there's actually a few lessons before this, but you are learning all of these fundamentals that you're going to build upon everything you're learning. And this is what leads to you designing style frames. This is what leads to you animating in a cinematic style. It's all tied together, and it builds upon lesson after lesson. And I mean, I know it works because I've seen the first 2 rounds of people go through this. And like I said, the first round just finished. And like Ryan was on here. I don't know if you're still on here, Ryan. But he's one of those people that from the first piece of work he put out till the very last piece of work he put out, like, it's amazing that what they do. He's just one of many people that by the end of the course, you're like, holy cow, look where I'm at. There, Ryan just said something. Yeah, so Ryan says, take the course week by week. The second half is intense, and you don't want to go back and relearn older techniques. Exactly. So you just want to really study every week that comes out and just understand it, get it down, and you're going to be amazed. Devin, I had a question on one of your ProFlows, number 20, the Neon Tunnel. I was using Saber on the masks, and when I made it a 3D layer, it wouldn't allow the blending options. Is there a trick to that? So that tells me, Devin, that you were using a... let me open up After Effects really quick. That tells me you were probably using the Cinema 4D renderer instead of the basic classic renderer. Yeah, it should just be the fact that you changed your renderer. So if you don't know how to do that, I'll show you how to change it really quickly here as it's loading up. My computer needs to be restarted because it's really slow. But just to jump forward, so Jag said, solid answer, bro. I appreciate the detail. Tying this to weightlifting and enjoying just getting the reps in. Yes, man, that is it. So I've gotten big into working out in the last year and a half. And I know you're like a weight trainer or something like that, which is awesome. But it's like, yeah, I mean, I've had in the past when I've worked out, I like injure myself constantly because I'm trying to do too much too fast. I'm doing too much weight, too many repetitions, and I injure myself. And I hired a personal trainer a year and a half ago, and power lifter. There you go. He taught me that he's like, just day by day, week by week, just build it, and it'll continue to build up. You're going to get stronger. You're going to get more endurance. And I look now, I'm like, yeah, it paid off. But it's like, yeah, we have this thing about instant gratification, and you just have to just really study every single week's lesson, and you'll be amazed at what happens. Ain't that the truth? Yes, it is, Phil. and on a tangent, since my After Effects is still loading up, I think that as motion designers, I think we should all like exercise. Like I have a standing desk, so I'm standing right now, and that's controversial too. I sat for like 10 years in a really good chair, but I started developing nerve damage in my arms from sitting so much, because I would sit freelancing. Sometimes I'd work 10, 12, 14-hour days, 6, 7 days a week, and it screwed me up. So then I started seeing a chiropractor, acupuncture. I have worked out off and on through the years, but there's so many motion designers I find that are so sedentary. And not to put you down if that's who you are, but I'm a big believer in eating the right food and exercising, because we do sit in front of a computer so much. We need something to keep our bodies going. So Evan's a fellow lifter. Nice. I am not a runner. I've never loved running, but yeah, I'd be curious if any of the runners out there. Yep. Ryan says I get my best ideas working out while listening to music. I agree. Also, I get my best ideas in the shower. And I hired a personal coach for 6 months last year, and she taught me that, I can't remember the science behind it, but it's something about when you get in the shower, everything, you just quit thinking like, oh, I have to come up with this great idea, and you're just relaxed, and you're in a state of relaxation, and the ideas just flow to you. And it works. Did you ever play sports or get into competitive sports when you were younger? I played sports, yes, but I was never like very good at it. I played football in high school. I was never a jock. I was more of like the creative nerd. Mine are on the New York City train. Awesome. Man, the few times I've been to New York, the train's actually like, I don't know, man. There's so many people on there. It kind of freaks me out. But good for you, Evan. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to switch my screen. Something's going on with my computer. It's so slow. Hang on here. So, hopefully you can see my screen now. You should be able to. So what happens is if I do a new solid, and I'll just do, actually, let's just do this. So there's my mask, and Video Copilot Saber. I'm curious how many of you guys use Video Copilot's tool. I can't remember what it's called now, where you just like hit the space bar and you type in what effect you're looking for, and it pulls it up immediately. I've seen some other companies come out with versions of it as well. I just have never used it because I don't want to like confuse people. So I've never used it. But anyways, okay, so if I make this layer 3D, right? So now it's 3D. If you can see here, I still have my blending modes here. But if I go up to my renderer up here in the top right, and it's set to classic 3D. If I change this to Cinema 4D, you see here it says what's enabled, because you can do extra things with this. You can also see here what's disabled when you use this renderer. And the very first thing up here is blending modes, okay? So if I click OK, boom, blending modes are no longer available, okay? If I go back up into my renderer here and I change it to Ray Tracing 3D, it's the same thing, deprecated. So I think they're trying to actually just get rid of this renderer, the Ray Trace 3D renderer. Same thing here, there's no blending modes. This renderer takes forever. And I'll just go back to classic, and classic 3D blending modes are there. So the advantage to using the Cinema 4D renderer, there's quite a few of them, quite a few advantages, but it does have its disadvantages. And there's a lot of things that don't work. There's a big one right there. Depth of field doesn't work. Motion blur doesn't work. It can only accept shadows. It cannot produce shadows from lights. Track mats don't work. Layer styles, masks, and effects on these types of layers don't work. So lots of things that disabled, but there's a lot of things you can do when you do use Cinema 4D Renderer, like you can extrude text and things like that. So hopefully that makes sense. Hope that didn't confuse you there, but I think that's probably the problem you're having. Okay, here, what else we got? Effects console is cool. So yeah, it sounds like several of you are using it. Time is money. Exactly, Jags. Time is money. Like I said, I just don't want people to feel like they have to install it for StyleCraft. So that's why I haven't used it, and I don't install it on this machine. Anything Video Copilot makes is awesome. I'm curious how many people use Element 3D? I got asked that a lot in the first two groups. If Element 3D was covered, I don't cover it in StyleCraft. I focus on Cinema 4D Lite. And that's because Cinema 4D Lite comes with After Effects. Element 3D is a plugin you have to buy. I see some amazing stuff produced with the Element 3D plugin. I own the plugin, I just don't use it. I've created a few basic animations for freelance clients with it, really with typography, because I don't fully understand the plugin, right? It's a different way of working for me versus Cinema 4D, but it looks, very powerful. Ryan, that's a great question. The new plugin from Andrew Kramer that he was showing a long time ago, I feel like now, the Volumetric Cloud plugin, that plugin looked amazing. So I don't know what's going on with that Volumetric Cloud plugin. If you guys haven't seen it, Google Video Copilot Volumetric plugin or effect, and it'll pop up. It looks so badass. I think he showed it was it at NAB or a conference before NAB? It was this spring or before, like late winter. I've noticed, like I said, I love Andrew Kramer. I mean, that dude he's the stuff he puts out there, the plugins he creates are amazing. But I have noticed that he seems to kind of appear and he'll be on social media and he'll announce things, he'll do tutorials, and then he just disappears. And I don't know if that's because his company and him, they get tied up in projects they get hired for. That's something that I've learned, that Video Copilot, they have a team that they work on. Now it seems like movie titles and movie effects and things like that. But they'll get hired to do those projects and they'll dive into that and they'll work on that. And then when they come out of those projects, that's when they focus more back on the plugins and the tutorials and things like that. So I think he gets sidetracked with that kind of stuff. Erland loves Effects Console. Awesome. Hey, Erland. Nebula 3D. I don't remember. Maybe it was Nebula 3D. Phil uses Effects Console since April. Exactly. Yep. Devin, do you know any fellow StyleCraft members that finished the course and StyleCraft landed the job? I guess what I'm asking is if StyleCraft is known for great motion design rather than going to college. So I don't know. I haven't heard from people who have landed a job from StyleCraft. I know that there are several people in Europe specifically that are in university. I think it's in France and Italy are the two I know of. They're in university and their professor actually, I guess, kind of mentioned StyleCraft. And so they're in StyleCraft while they're in university for motion design. And I've been told that they've learned more in StyleCraft than they did at university. So, and I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% positive, but I think one of my students from the first round of StyleCraft is actually a professor in Europe. And he seems to really like it. So, let's see. Yeah, NAB 2019 was when I think that plugin was announced. Yeah, Phil. I think it's, yeah. Cool. So, who else has got a question? Who else wants to know anything about motion design or anything like that? These Q&A sessions, I try to limit them to an hour. Sometimes they're over an hour, sometimes they're 5 minutes if nobody shows up. It just kind of depends. So the next call we're going to do in 2 weeks is going to be a critique call. And that's the call where I will actually pull up everyone's work that's in the finished exercises and go over it in detail. On those calls, for those of you who haven't been here before, they typically are pretty much the whole call I'm talking about the work. It takes a while to get through all the different pieces and to really give some time to each piece to break it down. You will learn a lot from those calls. So I do give feedback on the community. I look for you guys to give feedback as well to other motion designers in Stylecraft. It's important that you guys give feedback and not just me. So the critique calls are just me giving the feedback, and then of course you can ask questions based on that critique. What else? I think that's about it. So if we don't have any more questions, I am going to wrap up this call. Keep posting your work. Keep at it. One thing I do want to say is when someone gives you a critique, don't take it like, oh man, why they're being so harsh on me. I've had some people like that in the past. Critiques are there for you to get better. And we can only get better by listening to what other people have to say about our work and then really soaking that in and, listening to what other people have to say about it and then just, looking at our work. Sometimes we have a tendency to get so deep into our work, so connected to our work that we feel like it's, so great that how can anyone say it's not good? Or maybe you worked on one specific piece of that work and you thought that was the best thing in it and someone else saw it and said they didn't like it and it could be better because of this. Don't get offended by it. Critiques are there to make us better. And as artists, we have to put our work out there and show it to people and be willing to take that critique. And I know that there are some people in Stylecraft who have told me that they're afraid to post their work because they're a perfectionist and they're afraid to get that feedback. But that's how you are going to get better, is by putting yourself out there and letting people see your work and giving you a critique and just taking it all in. So I just wanted to do a little tangent there. A couple more questions. Jags, would it be okay if we take the concepts learned in an assignment and apply it to a different design? Working on a project for a friend and would love to try and apply what I'm learning. Of course, that's what Stylecraft is about. I did put a new optional exercise in. Let me double check something really quick here. Did you guys see? Let's see. Hold on. Load up here. Okay. Hang on here. Bear with me. Okay, cool. All right, so I just want to make sure. So I did put a new assignment up that in the line exercise. So I haven't seen any line exercises come back yet. So yes, if you, the whole point of this is for you to learn techniques and apply them as you learn them to other assignments. And Jags, like you posted that work in progress you're doing for a buddy for the lyric video. I can't remember exactly what it was, but that's great. Take what you've learned and then apply it to something you're working on. That's what this is all about. Now, I do put these optional exercises up here, like the one for line this week, because I want to see what you guys do. Like, I find that putting a creative barrier on you and saying, here's what I'm giving you. Here's kind of the parameters of what I want you to do. Now let's see what you can do. That's what really pushes you creatively to kind of jump out of your comfort zone and create something that you're proud of. When we just have an open canvas and it's just like, hey, you can create whatever the hell you want to create, sometimes that can be too much for us. And we can get lost in ideas. We can get lost in possibilities. And by limiting you on what your assignment is, I find that you can really, for me personally, my best work has come out of projects where I'm giving very limited creative assets, very limited creative freedom. And that's when I have to really think and say, okay, how can I make this the absolute best project I can make? And that's what your exercises are about. So Erlen says, do we send you exercises via WeTransfer, or do you download them in some other way? So in the past we did WeTransfer, but now I just want you to post them in finished exercises, and I can go through them frame by frame. Especially with Vimeo, I can actually go through it frame by frame and critique it. So that's where I prefer them to be. Let's see. Devin says, I look forward to getting ripped a new one on these up and coming projects. Well, we'll see what you got, Devin. Like I said, you'll be surprised if you do every single week. By the end of this Stylecraft course, you're gonna love what you see that you create. You're welcome, Jags. Ryan's a big fan of Stylecraft. I appreciate it, Ryan. Devin, cool. Erlen says you like the exercise, the optional line. Awesome. That's a brand new exercise I just put in here. So that's what's great with you guys being the third round. I've got to see what exercises work for students and what hasn't. So there's going to be a lot of new exercises that I've kind of fine-tuned and things like that. And the line exercise is one of those exercises. So I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with. What do I read and what am I reading right now? So, and then podcasts, when I listen to podcasts, I listen to business podcasts, and it has to do with like the learning industry. So I doubt you're going to be interested in that stuff. It's other entrepreneurs. I don't listen to motion design podcasts. And when I read, I also read a lot about, things outside of motion design. So I actually just got this app just like yesterday. Let's see, where is it at? What is it called? No, actually I got it 3 days ago. It's called Blinkist. Of course I can't find it. Yeah, Blinkist. You probably can't. Too much reflection there, but Blinkist is, I paid for like a year-long membership. So essentially it's supposed to be like all these tons and tons of books, and you can read them in 15 minutes or less. So they take books and they put them in note form, based on, it's just famous books, throughout history. And, you can get like a blink of that book. So it's just like in note form, and that's, my schedule's so crazy. I find that that's the best way for me to read right now. So it's a pretty cool app. So cool. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap this up. I really appreciate you guys being here. I'll say this every time I do a call. It's you guys showing up on the calls, asking questions, being engaged. That's what makes these calls worth it, to me and to the rest of the group. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to come in. They're going to watch the recordings of these calls. A lot of people are just either they can't make the call live with their schedule, or they just don't want to be on the live call, and that's totally fine too. But they're going to watch recordings. They're going to get something out of this. So all of you guys that show up, I appreciate you so much for being here, for asking your questions, and being engaged. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap this up. Look for the your buddy groupings to come out very, very soon. Probably end of this week or beginning of next week. And you guys can start pairing up and doing your thing with your buddies, and do those exercises. Keep them coming. You guys are posting some really awesome stuff in the community. I love it. And until next time, everyone have an awesome day. I'll see you guys later.